Welcome to the channel of Ecovilla. Before we begin this conversation about residency in Costa Rica, let me briefly introduce Ecovilla for those who are new to the channel. My name is Ineke. I'm originally from the Netherlands, and now I live here as both a neighbor and part of the Ecovilla team. Ecovilla is a regenerative residential community in the heart of Costa Rica, bringing together people from all ages and more than 60 nationalities. People come here because they want to live closer to nature, feel more connected to the people around them, and create a healthier and more meaningful way of life. Today, we are going to explore what you need to know about residency if you're considering making Costa Rica and perhaps even Ecovilla your home. Enjoy. Many people who discover Costa Rica and start imagining building a life here also have questions about ownership of land, but also residency. Can I stay for long term in Costa Rica? And today we're going to make that process easier to understand because we are going to discuss with Michael Salas, who is our guest today, all things about residency, what the options are, and the mistakes that you want to avoid in the process. So, Michael, thank you for joining.
Well, thank you so very much for having me. My name is Michael Salas, and I am an immigration attorney and a supervisor with Fragment Costa Rican team. I have worked in Costa Rican immigration for more than 10 years, and my experience includes working within the Costa Rican immigration authorities. I have advised families, individuals, investors, and international companies. At Fragment, I help clients understand their immigration options and develop a clear strategy based on their personal, professional, and investment plans in Costa Rica. One of the most important things to understand is that purchasing property, obtaining residency, working in Costa Rica, and organizing your financial affairs are connected decisions, but they are, in fact, separate legal processes.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for clarifying that. And also, I think it's good to know that in this video, we'll be discussing more general information. Situations of people also determine like the way they need to, like what type of residency they can apply for. This is a general conversation, but like personal questions and more in depth, we will share your contact. So if people have questions, they can contact you, right?
Sure, absolutely.
Great. So let's start with a question that we get a lot at Ecovia, which is, can foreigners buy property and have ownership's rights in Costa Rica, not being a resident yet?
Yes, so in general, foreigners can purchase and own uh, properties in Costa Rica. It could be real estate, it could be a company, it could be a car, whatever. Property ownership and immigration status are, in fact, separate legal matters. Buying a home doesn't automatically grant residency, and a person doesn't need to become a resident simply because they own property in Costa Rica. However, there might be special rules for say, certain types of property, and there are particularly properties that are located in specific areas that had specific conditions. So, for that reason, it is very important conducting proper real estate due diligence and immigration planning. Qualifying real estate investment might support a residence application. However, the value of the investment, the ownership structure, the registered information, and the supporting documents must meet all the immigration requirements.
And at what point does applying for residency become really important?
Well, that's a pretty good question. And I believe that it becomes important when Costa Rica is no longer a country when you visit once a year only in vacations, but becomes a place where you actually organize your life. For example, someone might be planning where the family will live, where the children will study, how they will manage healthcare, how much time they will spend in the country, and whether they plan to work or conduct businesses in Costa Rica. There is no requirement to obtain residency only because someone owns property. However, when the intention is establishing process in Costa Rica, immigration planning should begin. The correct strategy, in my personal opinion, depends on the source of income, the family situation, the type of investment, the professional activities, the nationality, and the long-term plans.
Exactly. And I like what you say, that it depends when people really want to start organizing their lives. And I assume spending the majority of their time with their family in Costa Rica, with the kids going to school and like maybe owning property, doing business, like really an established life in Costa Rica. Yeah,
Yes, actually, if you think about it, you're actually doing your life in Costa Rica. So
exactly.
having a legal basis is the best approach, is the best for you, for your family to be in the country. I recall the COVID times, and I had clients that they owned property and they wanted to spend the COVID times in their property in Costa Rica, but they couldn't enter because they haven't applied for residency.
Exactly. Yeah. And then you're just a tourist, basically.
Correct.
Yeah. So, what are the main residency options for people who want to make Costa Rica their home?
Well, there are four common immigration options. The first one and the most common for Ecovilla clients, it's the investor residency that is available for someone who has made a qualified investment higher than 150,000. This could be in real estate, this could be in company shares, this could be even, I have clients that what they do is they invest purchasing boats or cars to make rental cars, all of that it's applicable. Also, we have the pensionado residence for those who receive a lifetime pension higher than 1,000 US dollars. The rentista residence, that is, or the fixed income residence, that is available for those who receive a stable, permanent, and irrevocable income of at least $2,500. And a final group, and it's for those that actually are only looking in Costa Rica a place to spend a year, a couple of years, working remotely, and it could be with family or without family, and they could apply for a digital nomad program. However, the digital nomad program, it's a temporary stay authorization, it's not a residence, so it has different requirements, benefits, and long-term effects. So the correct option is not necessarily the easiest one. The correct option is the one that reflects the person income, the person investment, professional activities, long-term plans, and the one that can be properly supported during the application and also, and pretty much important, in future renewals.
Exactly. So, do people always start on a temporary residency and from there they can flow to permanent if they want? Or is it also possible to get permanent residency like at once?
You can have permanent residency at once. However, the options are not, and actually, it's just one option, and it's having a Costa Rican child. If you have a Costa Rican child, you can have access to the permanent residence right away. If not, the only option is having held the temporary residence, which could be the investor, the pensionado, or the rentista, for more than 3 years. It means that you need to renew it once, wait for a year, and then apply for the
And then,
permanent.
yes. And you say having a Costa Rican child, does that mean give birth in Costa Rica?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. And then the child is considered Costa Rican, and uh, that's a valid ground for residency. So that means that if families are planning to have babies, it might be beneficial for them to give birth in Costa Rica.
Actually, yes. Not only for the parents, but also for the minor sisters and brothers, because they can also have access to the permanent residence.
Yeah, so the whole family gets residency once the baby is born in Costa Rica.
Correct.
Great. Okay, so how can somebody determine for which option they would qualify best?
Okay, well, what we normally do is begin asking a few important questions. What is the person's source of income? What type of investment are they making? Will the property or investment be owned personally through a company? What will be the legal structure? If this person are looking for work or not, are moving alone or with family members, and how much time is expecting to spend in Costa Rica. We also need to consider nationality, documents available, intended move date, family relationship, and other professional advisors should be involved. For example, accountants, including other lawyers from other fields like corporate or real estate attorneys as well. This is why individual assessment is pretty important. Two people might purchase similar properties, but their immigration strategies might be completely different because of their income, their family structure, their ownership, or professional activities. The good immigration advice, I believe, begins with understanding the person's plans and not simply checking a list of documents.
What are the steps in the process in general?
Generally, it begins with an assessment, an eligibility assessment, and the selection of the proper immigration category. The next step is preparing the tailored document list. Depending on the specific case, possibly the person have changed the name, have married multiple times. So we need to understand the specific case. Depending on the case, the applicant might need civil records, criminal background certificates. It could be even from more than one country, the criminal background certificates, proof of income, pension documents, investment record, marriage, birth certificates, and other supporting documents. All the documents that are issued outside Costa Rica, they will need to be apostille or legalized, depending if the country is a member or not of the apostille agreement. And all of the documents that are not in Spanish, they need to be translated within Costa Rica by an official translator or a public notary in Spanish. The documents, if they have been translated abroad, even in a apostille, those translations will not be accepted. And the immigration authorities reviews the application. Usually it takes around 12 months to process an application like this, and they could request additional documents or clarification before issuing a decision. And after the approval, the applicant must complete what is called the registration stage and documentation process, what normally includes the payment of the government fees for the residence card issuance. The applicant needs to go to the Social Security, also called Caja, to get a registration as a voluntary rate payer, or any other category, whether applicable. And also, the family members must also register within the Social Security. Some other times, immigration requests any other documentation, but that's basically the general steps after the approval. The processing times, as I said, may vary depending on the category, the quality of the documents, any additional requests from the authority, and also, and most important, the authorities' workload. Because as far as I understand, they don't have too much people working, and they have a lot of applications. They don't have enough tools. And even when they do the best work, because they are actually pretty good workers, the immigration authority, they try to enable faster processes. However, they don't have enough budget, so sometimes the applications get delayed because of backlog. For all of those reasons, our focus in Fragment is preparing a complete, a consistent application from the beginning, rather than promising a specific approval date.
Exactly. So, apart from a lot of documents, you also need patience.
Correct.
And a little bit earlier on, you mentioned something about Caja, which is the social security system. Does that mean that once people have applied for residency or have been accepted for residency, they can also benefit from the social security system?
Yes, correct. And actually, if you're living in Costa Rica on a long term basis, having access to universal healthcare is an advantage because what they do, and that's the only pain point, because you need to pay a monthly fee after the residence is approved.
Yeah.
You are not subject of income taxes only from your property or your corporate or your business's taxes, not your own income. However, the Social Security will ask you to declare an income in Costa Rica. For example, if you have an Airbnb business, that will be the income. If not, you will need to show the 3 month bank statement, declare an income. They usually state the minimum income, which is 300,000 colones around. And they usually rate around 10, 11% of that income. However, it's one payment for the whole family. So if we are talking about a family of 5 people, you can just make one payment for the five. The five will have access to prescriptions. If you have an emergency, you can go for an emergency and have everything without paying anything extra, because most insurances, private insurances, you need to make a co-payment. You need to pay a proportion of the surgery or the procedure, and they assume the other proportion. In the social security, that's not. The only disadvantage, I believe, is the waiting times. But in my experience, and also because my father works in the social security, the quality of the service and the quality of the products they use, it's actually pretty good.
Yeah, so that means that everybody who has residency can also benefit from, well, not free healthcare, but affordable healthcare through this
Correct.
system. Yeah, great. Thank you. This was a very informative conversation. Thank you for sharing everything. And if I'm correct, the first discovery call is free, right?
Absolutely correct.
Yes, great. Thank you very much, Michael. I really appreciate your time that you took for this conversation. And yeah, I wish you a great day.
Always a pleasure. And well, have a nice day, you too.
Thank you.